Ancient Egyptian columns and mastabas. Columns. As early as 2600 BC, the architect Imhotep used stone columns with surfaces carved to reflect the organic shape of bundled reeds, such as papyrus, lotus, and palm fronds. In later Egyptian architecture, columns with multifaceted shafts were also common. Their form is thought to derive from ancient reed-built shrines. Stone-carved columns were heavily decorated with hieroglyphic inscriptions, painted scenes, and religious imagery. The Egyptian columns in the Great Hypostyle Hall at Karnak, circa 1224 BC, are renowned, where 134 columns are lined up in 16 rows, with some columns reaching 24 meters in height. One of the important types is the papyrus columns. The origin of these columns dates back to the Egyptian 5th dynasty. They consist of lotus, papyrus, stems gathered together in a bundle, adorned with bands. The capital, instead of opening up like a bellflower, swells and then narrows again like a flower in its bud. The base, which tapers to take a semi-spherical shape like a lotus stem, has a constantly recurring decoration of ovules, plant. In the Temple of Luxor, the columns remind us of papyrus bundles and were perhaps symbolic of the marshes from which the ancient Egyptians believed the creation of the world had unfolded. Mastabas. A mastaba is a type of ancient Egyptian tomb, a flat-roofed rectangular structure with sloping sides that was used to bury pharaohs and other important people. During the early dynastic period and the Old Kingdom, mastabas were typically built of mud brick or stone and contained a burial chamber, offering chapel and storage rooms. The mastaba of Pharaoh Shepseskaf is made of red sandstone, pink granite, and limestone. The mastaba is a burial tomb of royal significance, based on the choices of Egyptian rulers. Many tombs found throughout time were located along the Nile River. The structural exterior appearance varies in regard to the mastaba throughout history, but there is a noticeable evolution in the course of the Egyptian dynasties. The mastabas of the First Dynasty of Egypt would be created through the use of stepped brickwork. The design would then evolve by the Fourth Dynasty, where the exterior structure changed from brick to stone. The reason behind the step designs of the mastabas is related to the idea of joining. Lateral penetration was a concern when building the tombs. In order to prevent damage to the building, joining layers of masonry were placed around the base of the structure. The mastabas of the Old Kingdom of Egypt took on a pyramid-like design structure. This design was largely reserved for rulers, such as the king and his family, as a means of burial. Other design characteristics pertaining to the mastabas of the Old Kingdom include having rectangular boundaries, sloping walls which were made of stone and brick materials, and having a building axis that extends from the north and the south. Multiple elements make up the interior of the mastabas, such as an offering chamber, statues of the deceased, and a vault underneath a sarcophagus. By the end of the Old Kingdom of Egypt, the use of these tombs was abandoned. What should be the topic of our next video? If you enjoyed this story about my life, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment.